All right, next up is Barbara Sperber. Barbara's first career was as a city planner, but after having kids, she went to law school in the evening, which I happen to know is its own fantastic story, and then went to work as an assistant attorney general at the state attorney general's office for well over 20 years. Now she's retired, and she enjoys reading, taking walks, preferably by the beach or by water, and playing with her grandkids, although she says that's not the correct order. In response to my question about what Academy Award she would win, I love the way you put this. Barbara says she'd be receiving a Lifetime Award for Queen of Drama, which is very different and should not be confused with Drama Queen, two very different things, and would receive special commendations in the categories of worrying and crying at events both happy and sad. Please welcome Barbara Sperber.
It is an unusually hot and humid day in June. I am sitting on my father's lap in a very ugly kitchen. My mother is by our side, and we're sitting near a table. I'm 5 years old, and I am miserable. A few hours ago, we had departed from, well, actually, we disembarked from a former arms carrier, the General Harry Taylor, which took us from Germany to the United States. My father is the sole Holocaust survivor of his large family, and my mother, except for one brother, is also the sole Holocaust survivor of her large family. New York greets us. It is dirty, it is crowded, it is loud. They speak a language, they shout a language that I don't understand a word. I am confused, I am scared. As I sit on my father's lap, there are two things that boost my morality. One is that I am disappointed that the streets are not paved in gold like I thought they would be, but the sidewalks are so shiny in the summer sun that I know they must be paved with diamonds. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to take a spoon from that ugly yellow kitchen, go downstairs, dig up 2 diamonds, and give them to my mother. The second thing that boosts me up is that it's Friday. I love Fridays. Fridays night is Shabbos. My mother lights the candles, we eat, we laugh, we sing Yiddish songs, and we tell stories, the 3 of us. Soon my sister is born, and she soon asks, actually I'm 6 years old when she's born, and she asks what I never have asked. Why are there no grandparents on our table? What happened to them? My parents tell stories, but not that one, not yet. Now we know about our relatives. We know that Yitka loved to eat just the rind of bread in order to keep her figure. We know that Rushka was very beautiful and kind to a fault. We know that Yaakov loved to have philosophical conversations with the town priest. We know we don't know that much about Esterka because my father did not get that well along with his sister. But there is shy 12-year-old Gidon, there is wild child Nachman and Tzvi and so many others. But my personal favorite is Chana. Chana is 2 years old. She's my mother's niece. She is born in the ghetto, and she is a happy child. She dances with anticipation every evening when my mother comes home because my mother brings a gift. The gift, usually pebbles from the street, or a little piece of ribbon, or a button, but sometimes, rarely, but it has happened, my mother comes home with a piece of cookie for her. These relatives stay in my memory of a certain age. They don't change. I change. I get older. I marry Jerry. We have 2 sons, each of them named after 2 great-grandfathers who died in the Holocaust. My sister marries, and the dining room table, the Shabbos table, is now in our dining room. And my father on Friday nights entertains the boys with stories of his childhood antics. Their favorite, is when he and his buddies dumped lots of laxative in a pancake batter to be used at a community picnic. The boys are delighted, and snickering, they run upstairs to go to bed. And then the stories change, and my sister learns a little bit about what happened. My parents are such wonderful storytellers. There's so much, it's so vivid. I always feel like I'm there, I'm witnessing. So, in 1942, I'm in the Częstochowa marketplace. This is in Poland. I see my grandmother and my mother, they're holding hands very tightly. They are shivering a little bit. Is it hunger, fear, or just the cool September air? They are in a long, long line, and they're near the back of the line. On either side of the line are well-fed Nazis with guns and truncheons in their hands. Some of them hold dogs on leashes. The dogs look well-fed also. In the front of the line is a Nazi of higher rank who, with a flick of the wrist, sends people back to the ghetto or down a path, a dirt path with bushes on either side. And at the end of the path is a railroad track with a train and lots of cattle cars. The destination is Treblinka. My mother and grandmother get to the head of the line. My mother is flicked back to the ghetto. My grandmother to start going down the path. My mother will not let go of my grandmother. My grandmother begs her to let go. She will not let go. She holds her so tightly. A Nazi comes and pulls her away, and my grandmother starts down the path. My mother is being held, fighting this Nazi, who very quietly whispers in her ear, "Don't go there. You have to live. I'm so sorry." Later, my mother will be astonished at the comments of this Nazi. But right now she has one goal only, to be with her mother, to run down that path. She is let go. She runs down the path. She needs to find my grandmother. She does. My grandmother is being shoved into a cattle car that is overstuffed. She's not being pushed by Nazi hands, no. She is being shoved by polished, shiny leather boots on my grandmother's body. It doesn't work. There's no room. So my grandmother is told to go back reluctantly to the ghetto, which she does. 2 weeks later, the day after Yom Kippur, my grandmother is again shoved into a cattle car. This time, there is room for her and also room for her daughter, Rushka, who holds tightly in her arms Hannah. Hannah. The cattle car closes with a loud bang. You can hear it being locked. I think my parents can tell these stories because we're huddled together, because it's Shabbos and before them the candles flicker, and above them, most importantly, they know their grandsons are sleeping safely and soundly. Now the table is stretched as far as it can go, and it is crowded with family members, and kids run around under the table and over, and it is chaos. It is wonderful life and chaos. The Yiddish songs, it's more of row, row, row your boat time. The stories, well, if an adult can get 2 sentences out without being interrupted, that's good. My father would love the tumult, but he never sat at that table. He never saw his niece, my niece, his granddaughter. He never got a chance to hug her. He never met my son's wives. He never played with his great-grandchildren. But his granddaughter and his 2 great-grandsons bear his name. A few months ago was the last time my mother could sit at the table. She is now wheelchair-bound and has dementia. She's in a nursing home, and almost every day we sit by a small table in the day room at the nursing home, and my mother and I hold hands, and we sing those Yiddish songs from long ago, and amazingly, she remembers most of the words. And sometimes, not often, but sometimes, in my mind's eye, I see just beyond her a long table, and it's filled with relatives I never knew, whose faces most of them, whose faces I don't know because we don't have pictures of them. But I recognize every single one, and my father is there, and they are singing Yiddish songs with us, with my mother and me. And I look at my mother, and she looks calm, even serene. And I wonder and I hope that she sees them also. Thank you for listening to me.
That was fantastic, Barbara. You're an amazing storyteller. That was an amazing story and so important for us to hear. Hard to hear, but important to hear. Thank you so much.